What's up, everyone? The other day I played a tournament match against Showtime, and I had something very special prepared, which looks very idiotic, and if not responded to properly by my opponent, also is very idiotic. I prepared a little bit of a mind game, and I'm here to explain you exactly how this mind game works, okay? So, some people noticed it, that I sent a probe out after my second gas to the left side of the map and did absolutely nothing with it. Now, the reason why I did it after my second gas is so that I dodged his scouting probe, obviously. He does a gate scout, as you can see, and the latest time I can send it is after second gas. That is still a little bit tight, but I tested it a couple of times, and unless I was really slow, he would always just, barely miss it. Maybe a 1.5 or 2 seconds. Followed it up with a standard 2 gate, and just go into my gas. Now, the reason why I'm sending out a probe and not scouting with it is very simple. I know that Showtime likes to count his opponent's workers to make sure that there's no probe on the map. So I figured, what if I just send the probe on the map and do absolutely nothing with it? And then he'll be counting the probes, and dang, this guy is crazy, there's a probe on the map. And there were a couple of other things. So it is not uncommon for people just to proxy a pylon on the map and then not do anything with it. And we call that a fake proxy, because even though you're proxying a pylon, you're not actually building a building with it. It's a relatively small investment, and it requires a big response out of your opponent. It's something I also like to do. But I thought I could take it one step further. What if I don't even proxy a pylon, but I just make my opponent believe there's a pylon, with the intention of my opponent having to scout the entire map for the proxy that isn't even there. So I put the probe over here in the top left, and I continue my life as normal. Now there's a couple of other things that I'm doing here that are very small and very subtle, and they look like I'm trying to hide something. So first things first is that it's very common for the people when they have money to immediately build a pylon. So even though it's not necessary, because you can kind of delay your pylon a little bit, especially when it comes to building these two units, you might get a bit supply blocked on your probes, but you can build it at like 140 or so, or you can build it at 136. So I'll already delay it by 4 or 5 seconds. Just even if he doesn't notice it, just everything kind of needs to work together. And at this point, I felt like he probably counted my workers. He can see, hey, wait a second, this guy has as many workers as I have at home. But he's not scouting me. But he is building a second pylon. What's going on here? Then the second step of my brilliant plan here is that I purposefully delay the units from these gateways. Okay? So he goes to scout. I wait with my warp gate a little bit. And here I start my unit as he walks in, which is 5 seconds after my cybercore finishes. And he can see that it just started by the animation. You see that? The animation of a unit starting is still going. So he's like, he just started that unit. That is kind of suspicious. And he's like, oh, that's weird. And all of these things are on purpose. Now, looking back at it, maybe I should have just delayed this unit a little bit more to truly sell the tale that I was proxying something. But I thought it would be cooler to give him a lot of really subtle hints where he should be going crazy over whether something is happening or not. Then the final way that I wanted to convince him that yes, I indeed am proxying something is by doing something called shadow canceling. Never was called like that before, but that's what it's called now. So basically what happens is if an opponent unit dies close to a gateway, you still retain vision of that area for a couple of extra seconds. So I lock my opponent in, and then I start units here, which this is indicative of either a 3-gate proxy robo, or just a regular pylon proxy, or no proxy, if you build units 3 and 4. But if there's no units 3 and 4, it might look like a Stargate. And I kind of wanted him to believe that there was a Stargate here. So what I do is, I start my 4th unit, and then I cancel it, all within the shadow. So this looked really stupid. But then if we look from his vision, what he sees... Wait, I need to select the unit that won't die. So he sees my Stalker pop. Then he sees a unit start. And then he sees the unit get cancelled. All in the shadow. Pretty freaking smart, if you ask me. So at this point, I gave him 3 big clues. 1, there's a probe missing. 2, my Stalker and my Sentry, or my Stalkers are delayed. And 3, I'm trying to fake him that I'm building a 4th unit. This is the perfect sell. Sadly, he opened up with Sentry. So none of this was useful. He just killed it with a hallucination and saw everything. The reason why people normally don't go Sentry against something like this is because it's very difficult to get map control. So it's difficult to spot things around. If, for example, Proxy Robo is over here, you won't be able to contest it with Sentry Stalker. So yeah, this is... I was kind of hoping that he would truly believe hard enough that this was not going to be... that this might have been a real proxy or an aggressive proxy, that he wouldn't open with a Sentry. But now that he just built a Sentry, basically everything I did was just performance arts. I laugh, but I cry. So yeah, at this point I was pretty upset, as you can see. And the game kind of continues on. And now that we're here, we might as well do the rest of the game, right? So even though not much happened, I still feel like I'm in an okay position. I'm up like half a worker. I think my Nexus is going to be, like 6-7 seconds faster. So that's like another worker basically, or like half a worker. I cancel my battery after he scouted. He also canceled his battery. So he never started a battery. And now he's gonna find my hallucination, which is annoying because it's gonna delay my scout of his main base a little bit. But end of the day, it doesn't do too much. I see 3 sentries, 3 stalkers. The likelihood of there being a Stargate that hits me fast is very small. So I don't care too much. Both of us are going to warp in 2 adepts here. So kind of a mirrored idea. And we're both trying to dodge each other's hallucinations with that, obviously. My hallucination starts popping off. He has a slightly faster blink. I'm not quite sure why that is. I think I might have just warped in. I'm not sure why he has slightly faster blink. Might have just forgotten to start it. No, whatever. So I'm still slightly up in workers. I keep my pro patrolling here. And these 2 bad boys are going in as well. I'm still like not in a bad position. I'm in a good position. I think I'm slightly up. Like 2-3 workers. Not a huge deal, but it's a small deal. And small deals are also deals. So I block this. And here I actually made a mistake because I walked forward with my adepts into my opponent's units. I should have obviously not done that. And I get in with 1. I didn't realize I did. So 1 worker here. And I think I managed to kill 1 more here. But I also was busy first shooting here and doing stuff here. So I think my target fire was a little off. I think I might have been able to kill 1 more. But overall, not the worst performance. Third base also is a little bit faster, 10-12 seconds. So that's another free probe that I'm gaining. And also faster mining on my third base, which might actually be like 100 or 120 minerals or so. Which is, you know, all of these things kind of add up, you know, just being up 2-3 workers the entire time. Faster Nexus by 12 seconds means you get to transfer your workers faster. Means you get 1 extra worker because 1 worker is 12 seconds, of course, without chrono boost. So every second that you cut is great. With these type of things. I even think I built like a 4th pylon, or sorry, a 5th pylon slightly too fast. I could have had an even faster Nexus, but I was a little bit afraid I might get supply block during the hectic moments of the adepts. So yeah, that was it. Both of us going for some Blink Stalker shenanigans. I'm getting a battery. He doesn't get a battery, which does slightly surprise me. This move out also surprised me, by the way. I was looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, this is not cool. And I scouted, I believe, the hallucinations at some point. I'm not sure when I did it, but I saw or not the hallucinations. I scouted the adepts with a hallucination. There we go. So here I'm just up. This was really risky by him, I think. If I had realized how good my position was, I could have just fought this. Now, I knew he also was sending some adepts here, so I'm being rather careful. I still have plenty of units here to deal with this, though. I continue building workers, which is always really important. I always like this type of move. It tends to do very well. He gets 4 or 5 workers maybe with this. Save the 5th one. So 4 workers for 2 adepts. It's not the greatest trade. It's also not the worst trade. It's probably slightly plus for him. You know, slightly better for him than it is for me, but it's not going to matter too much because he also sacrifices like 2 warp hits and loses a little bit of map control with it. Because right now I'm gonna have a slightly higher Stalker count, which means I could be using that for some move outs on the map or anything like that. I have a little bit of a delayed +2. That is not because I don't have money, that's because I suck. I should have already built that. I was kind of messing around with this Nexus timing, and I don't think I should have done that. We fight in the middle of the map, or we clash, some people would say. I think I get 2 sentries there. I wanted it to be for free, but instead he also gets 2 of my sentries. And he also got a Stalker, so that was many things, but free it was not. I'm surprised he is so aggressively forward. I think we're really similar in Stalker count, and if I had these Stalkers with me, I'd even be higher. So yeah, I don't know, it seems kind of risky what he's doing. This blink forward was really crazy, actually. Oh, I mistargeted there. If I lose a Stalker, I ended up killing 2, so that's okay. Each okay. Slightly faster Nexus for me, but because I lost my +2 timing, it's not actually that great, because +2 timings are really vital in this matchup usually. It's where a lot of the action kind of is centered around. Both of us are playing 3 gas as well, which means we're going very heavy into Stalker Zealot, and these fights tend to be quite stupid and quite fast. Batteries are a big factor in it. I decide to add some cannons in case of DTs and get DTs myself. Very often, the guy that gets cannons also gets the Dark Shrine. It's kind of like the person who's the most jealous in the relationship is the most likely to cheat, you know? Because he's imagining all these things that the other people could be doing, because he's the cheater himself or herself. And it's the same here. It's the guy with the T is like, oh, look at that. My base completely empty for Dark Templar. So usually the people that have these Dark Templar urges also get cannons in their mineral lines relatively quickly. They're well aware of the danger. So a cool move to do while you're planning on sending in some DTs is just roaming around the map with your Stalker Zealot force and looking for stuff, you know? Just looking for some damage. My opponent stopped building workers altogether, and he added, I believe, 2 extra gateways maybe? Yeah, 2 extra gateways. So right now he's on 10 gateways, and I'm still on 8 gateways, which means he's going to inflate his supply a little bit soon. Or inflate, he's just going to get more supply, and I can't. Now, here something happens I'm not too proud of. So I have very nice vision on the map the entire time. I have map control, I have momentum on my side, and I'm up in workers. The only thing I'm really lacking is this ground weapons level 2 upgrade. And he starts slowly but surely taking away my vision, right? So you see, I now have a little less vision, and I only have this probe left here. So if he doesn't come here, I know he'll come here. I see him walk over here, and now I make a pretty big error. So at this point, there's still a couple of options that Showtime can do. He can go up this ramp, he can go up this ramp, or he can go up this ramp. He has 3 rotations. All of these rotations are easier defensively than they are aggressively, which is important to remember. So it's easier for me to defend than it is for him to attack, because all of these are ramps. This area can be a little bit tricky for me to defend sometimes if he gets like over here, but with good vision, I can usually stop that. What I'm supposed to do here is send 1 Stalker over here, maybe have 1 Stalker here, and then have a Stalker here, or even have a probe going over there, so I know where he's coming. I need to be on top of the ramp, and especially with this forward battery, I need to be able to fight near a battery. I either need to be on top of a ramp or near a battery, otherwise I won't be able to win a fight, because I forgot to start my +2 like a little noob. At the same time, my Dark Shrine also finishes up, and I'm like, hey, my opponent's on the map. You know what sounds a lot more important than defending my bases is attacking his bases. And what I do is I warp in 2 DTs here, and I send them in different paths. So one guy goes into the 3rd base, one guy goes into the natural, or maybe both go into the natural. No, one goes into 3rd, one goes into the natural. But while I'm doing that, I am not actually figuring out where my opponent is. So I send a probe out. Actually, with this probe, I should have been able to say, hey, I now know he's not over here, and I know he's not over here. I should just stand on top of this ramp. But I was a little bit too afraid to be decisive, and I didn't think that he would just be so decisive. I also didn't have a fast warp in here, which means all these zealots are slowly warping in, and I don't have +2. My opponent blinks forward, snipes the battery, and all of a sudden I have absolutely no advantage here. +2 not done yet. He has an Archon while I don't. I have Guardian Shield while he doesn't. And I don't have a quick warp in, which means I need to warp in extra reinforcements over here. On top of that, he also has 2 extra gateways. I already was making a swap into Robo Facility and Robo Bay. And while all this is happening, I actually am doing damage, which means that if I had just defended, I would have not been up just 10 workers, but most likely up about 15 workers. Or maybe even, I don't know, 20 workers or so. Because I'm killing 5, 6, 7 workers here. Now, he killed 20 of mine, so now the workers are equal, and I'm completely dead because he won the fight. So yeah, game started with an enticing mind game that he didn't bite. And ended with me not defending my battery because I'm a little bit slow in the head. Alright, that's going to be the video for today. I hope you all found this interesting and maybe even useful. If you like this, feel free to tell me in the comments down below. Then maybe I'll do more things like this in the future. If you hated it and you're wondering where your episode of Getting Grandmaster with Zercast went, and you can go suck it, because I thought it was interesting. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow with a new Road to Rank 1. Bye bye.